Kia ora and welcome to episode 5 of the long-awaited follow-up to the PC-related series that I have on this channel and platform. For reason it's number 5 is because there's 3 other episodes in the pipeline waiting to go, and we'll hear more about them as they come out, but very exciting stuff in there as always. So today's project is of course the long speculated, long rumoured ITX build that I've been wanting to get around to for a number of years now, and finally have had the opportunity to have the system going for a number of months, and yeah, she's pretty good, but yeah, some of the component selection are a bit odd, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But off the bat though, it is not Ryzen based, it is not laptop CPU based. I'll show you what that is in a minute. So we'll go through the component selection, we'll go through the build, run a couple of benchmarks to see how she performs in the games that I will be using the system for, and then we'll see you at the end for some B-roll and then the conclusion. So hang around for then, and hopefully enjoy the video. Catch you in a bit. Peace out. So we're talking about the first part of the video here, which is the component selection, and we're first going to talk about the motherboard here, which was very kindly donated by Sean, the Asus C97 Plus, socket 1150, good SATA ports, M.2, and got i7 4790K, which I delivered at 4.4 GHz, running for all the tests here. And we swapped out the AC Wi-Fi for an Intel chip because the Broadcom one was very good. And we've got the 970 Evo Plus M.2 NVMe drive on the back. We run a couple of hard drives in here as well, the first 160 gig and a Western Digital 750 gig, just because I run a couple of OSs and that's what I had lying around. Next up we're talking about the NVIDIA GTX 780, which is their 2013 flagship. Slight overclock there on the card, 2304 CUDA cores, Kepler architecture, and 3GB of GDDR5 VRAM. The second last piece to this puzzle is the Noxio NHD14, which is almost bigger than the board itself, as you'll see soon, keeping that 4790K pretty chilly under there. The last piece of the puzzle is the Fractal Core 500 case mini ITX form factor, 25cm wide, 21cm high and 38cm deep, 280mm radiator support at the top, 140mm fan at the rear, and it's got an optical disc bay at the front. So we're moving on to the build, and we're going to prep the board by installing the RAM and the cooler and putting it into the case. So now the motherboard, CPU and RAM is now inside the case. We'll now move on to putting the storage in around the back. Very exciting stuff.
Drive so fast when I'm trying to hide. The world seems okay when you're by my side. I wanna give you more, but I got nothing at all. Protection, protection, protection. Anywhere you go, even on your own, I won't let you down and hope you know. Even if you fall when you're all alone, I will break you up and
The last section of the build is putting the GPU in the chassis, which mounts along the edge of the case, as well as putting the top cover on with the fan mount.
if you fall when you're all alone, I will break you up and carry you home. Protection, you going out strong, too afraid to lose, trying to hold on to something that we'll never know. And in times like these, we can't afford to fall. And I'm on my knees, I got nothing at all. I need protection, protection, protection.
So that concludes the build process, and now we're going to start looking at testing the performance of the parts that we have chosen for this particular system. And we're going to start off here by looking at the Core i7 4700K processor, the ASUS Z97i motherboard, 16GB of G-Skill Ripjaws 2133MHz RAM, the Zalman ZM750 EBT power supply, which we've sleeved with the blue connector there, all games running off the WD 750GB hard drive, and there's a slight 100MHz overclock on the GTX 780. First benchmark is Wreckfest, possibly my favourite game that I'm playing at the moment. 197 max, 125 average and 70 FPS minimum. Might have been a bit of a glitch with that one, but that's the results that are recorded. Second game is Project Cars 2, a little bit of a demanding one. 146 maximum, 107 average and 46 minimum, but does run pretty well on this older hardware. And last but not least is Grid Auto Sport, ultra settings, 112 max, 96 minimum and 76 minimum. Does run a little bit older, more demanding, even though it's a bit of an older title, but perfectly playable. So that concludes the benchmarks, and we'll now move on to the B-roll. Well, thank you very much for watching this video so far. It's been absolute pleasure to be making it for you, and finally getting the project out after years of rumours and speculation has finally come to fruition. So I'm very, very proud of what I've achieved and accomplished with the ITX computer that I've been meaning to do for a long time. Firstly, I would like to make a big shout out to Shong Lawnmower, absolutely awesome guy, and we've done a bit of work back and forth with some with each other, and so I think as a gift he gave me his spare motherboard, and frankly this build would not have happened without it. Z series of the 1150 socket boards are quite difficult to come by now for cheap, and really it was a blessing in disguise that he was able to award that as a gift. So big shout out to him, props for that, awesome stuff. Secondly is the CPU's been deleted. Yes, that's why it was already installed in the motherboard, and it wasn't particularly the most efficient deleting that I've ever seen, because I just replaced the thermal paste under the IHS in contact with the die with just regular thermal paste, and you know, I was planning on reducing temperatures because those Haswell chips are known to be particular space heaters, especially with some overclocks. They don't run particularly cold. Even with the NHD 14 on there, as you can see from that last slide, it was running pretty warm, and I was trying to see what can be achieved with even a D-lid. But in the future, may look at doing some stuff with liquid metal if I want to pursue that even further. But we'll see what the future holds with that. Thirdly, we're wanting to talk about the GPU situation. I was planning on, using this particular card here, the R9 390. Sorry, that's upside down there. Yeah. However, I seem to have ruined the connector, and it doesn't produce a particularly clean signal anymore, because I had repaired it. Maybe the repair had worn off, and I might need to put it back in the oven, but that's why I'd used the 780, because that's what I had lying around, and I'd seemed to fix that, and that still seems to be living. So it's not to say that the 780 is a bad card, as you saw in the performance. It was still definitely worthwhile using for games that are a little bit older and a little bit less demanding than some of the more recent titles. So happy with that anyway. Last but not least is the case. The power supply area does interfere with the PCI Express slot, and I think that's got something to do with why I'd ruined that card, and it doesn't line up straight. You know, it does interfere with actually the how straight it goes into the slot, and I found that using the power connector that's particular for the 240 volt cable, extension cable that runs to the back of the case, is a little bit less wide than the modular cables that stick out of there normally, you know, for your SATA power and your PCI Express power, that are a little bit stick out a little bit more, which that means you just can't get the card in without bending the connector, which isn't ideal at all. So anyway, I think I don't know if you guys noticed, but yeah, that's was quite present in the video. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, follow, subscribe. Look out for more projects coming out very, very soon, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out for now. Bye bye.
It's over like you wanted. We tried to hold on. Now it's over like you